لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله جود علينا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending salutations, peace and blessings upon the best of creation, the jewel and crown of creation, the beloved of Allah Almighty, the coolness to our eyes, the purpose of our lives, the reviver of our hearts, the inspirer to our minds, the awakener of our souls, the most honored one, the most praised one, the most generous one, the most kind one. Undoubtedly, He is the most beautiful one. None other than Sayyiduna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa barak wa sallam. "20 days have gone by, and the relentless bombing and siege on the land of Gaza continues. As majority of the world watches on, unfortunately, sadly, for those who are living in this area, Ghazatul Hashim, they are suffering untold amount of loss. It's been reported over 7,000 of the people of Gaza have become shaheed, martyrs, of which over 3,000 are children, and 2/3 of which are consistent of elders, women and children. And this is the sad reality of the world we live in. A world which is sadly governed by double standards, a world which is governed by hypocrisy, in which in one part of the world, if a race and group of people are being attacked, billions have been sent in military aid and in humanitarian aid. Borders of countries have opened up in support of them. Their flags have been paraded throughout the streets. Every news outlet and news channel endlessly continue to speak about the atrocities that took place in that part of the world. And the hypocrisy of the world we live in is such, never mind 75 years of illegal occupation, killing of innocent children, innocent people, never mind the taking over of Palestinian land since 1947-48, the catastrophe, the first Nakba, where over 750,000 Palestinians had no choice whatsoever but to leave their land and their homes. They were forced out. An area which has been ethnically cleansed for decades now. Just from October the 7th till now, you have over 2 million people living in a very small part of Palestine called the Gaza Strip. in this very small part of Palestine in the Gaza Strip, over 2 million people, half of whom are children. And the state of Israel relentlessly bomb the daylights out of this area, to the point that hospitals are not being spared, churches are not being spared, mosques are not being spared. The British government and other governments can send and say we give 10 million in aid or 20 million in aid. Billions have been sent to one part of the world. And the other part of the world, they continue to support this terrorism, this terrorizing of innocent people living in Gaza, this destruction of the land of Gaza, this attempt to ethnically cleanse Gaza, to take over and occupy the land of Gaza. And this continues even though violation of international laws, irrespective of the violation of the agreements, war crimes are being committed. War crimes are being committed. Bombing a hospital, bombing a mosque, targeting churches, this is a war crime. And it's unfortunate that the country we live in, its government and the opposing party, the government of this country and its opposing party, both of whom are supporting this, both of whom are continuing to fund this, allow this. What must we do? What can we do? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, whoever amongst you sees wrong, man ra'a minkumul munkar falyughayyir biyadihi. Whoever, O kama qala alayhi salatu wassalam, whoever amongst you sees wrong, then he should change it and stop it with his hands. And if he is unable to, فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ, then he should stop it with his tongue. And if he is unable to do this, then he should hate it inside his heart. وَهُوَ أَدْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ, and that is the weakest of Iman. Moving away slightly from this subject, the discussion of Gaza and its awareness. When we read a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, there are two parts of it in understanding it. You've got the riwayah of the hadith, the narration, and then you've got the dirayah, the understanding behind it. This is the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ. How do we understand this hadith? How is this hadith applied? The application of hadith. We can't take a hadith and misapply them and misinterpret and misunderstand them. We find that such a hadith narrations you will find in the Sihah Sitta, the 6 most authentic books of hadith after the Al-Quran Al-Kareem. You might find this narration within there in other books of ahadith. And after those great imams who compiled these books of hadith, came other great imams within this ummah who explained these ahadith. They wrote shuruh, commentaries on these ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, explaining the strength of the hadith, the narrators within the hadith, the wording of the hadith, the understanding of the hadith, the context of the hadith, all of this. And in understanding the narration that I've just mentioned, that whoever amongst you sees wrong, then he should stop it with his hands, he should change it with his hands. The Prophet ﷺ was referring to the umara. He was referring to the leaders. Those who have the power to change it. Who has the power to change what's happening? The world leaders. The leaders of this country, the leaders in America, the leaders in Europe, the leaders in the Far East, the leaders that surround the land of Palestine, Al-Ardul Muqaddasa, the Holy Land. It is them who are in positions of authority and power who are able to make this change. They are able to switch off the oil for an hour. They are able to stop trade deals with them. It is them who are in positions of power and authority that have been elected democratically by their people who can speak up against this and stop this if they so wish. Gosh, if only the Ummah was united. If only the Ummah they understood the importance of akhuwa fil Ummah, the brotherhood within the Ummah. If only they understood the importance and the sanctity of human life. We are hearing a lot of speeches, a lot of talks are being delivered, a lot of press conferences are being delivered, and a lot of the right stuff is being said. But for how long will this relentless bombardment of the people of Gaza continue until it is stopped? Until it is enforced that you cannot continue to bomb innocent people. Their lives are as important, as worthy as the lives of those who are being killed in other parts of the world illegally. Those who are being killed in other parts of the world, in other wars that are taking place, the lives of Palestinians are equal to even those such lives. فَلْيُغَيِّرْ بِيَدِهِ. Then he should change it with his hand. Who? The umara, the leaders. Those who are in positions of authority and power have the ability and power to stop. They can discuss. Qatar is trying. Saudi Arabia continues to remain silent. Turkey is giving the right talks. We are hearing stuff. Lebanon is resilient. Iran and its proxies, as they say, continue to have a presence within the Middle East. Libya, they are saying the right things, wanting to do the right things, but sadly, you have Western monopoly over these lands, Western influence and control over these lands. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, and if you are unable to stop it with your hands, then you should speak out against it. And that is the job of whom? The khutaba, the ulama. It is the duty of the scholars, the speakers, the scholars, the imams, the political analysts, the individuals who are in position to speak on behalf of the Palestinian people in this case. Then they should speak out. They should not remain silent on this. Silence on this matter is complicity. You are complicit with them if you remain silent on this issue. That in this part of the world, this modern world that we live in, we still find such injustice and oppression existing. Over 70 years, it's not just today. And not only is it Palestine, I see my brothers from Sham, Syria, sitting here who have come from another war-torn country for 10 years, decades now, over a decade. What was taking place in Syria, the relentless bombing of innocent people in Syria, Prior to the war in Syria, what was it? Iraq. What was happening in Iraq? How many hundreds of thousands, hatta million, were killed in Iraq? In Afghanistan, these Western diplomacies, the fake weapons of mass destruction that they said Saddam was hiding in Iraq, that was a threat to the world. At that time, it was the Labour government who approved the innocent killing of the people in Iraq, in Syria, in Afghanistan. And continuous throughout this has been what? Palestine, Al-Ardul Muqaddasa. The Holy Land for the last 70 plus years. This is the world we are living in, unfortunately. If we do not speak out against this injustice, if we do not exercise our democratic rights, the rights that we have to speak out against what is happening in the world, then what answer will we give to Allah Almighty on the day of Qiyamah? That what did you do for the Palestinian people? What did you do for the Muslims who suffered in Syria and Iraq? How could you continue your daily life knowing that the country that you lived in was funding, making weapons, supplying weapons to those who were relentlessly bombing innocent people in Palestine, in Iraq, in Syria? How they have destabilized the Middle East, Libya, just to take out Muammar Gaddafi and Saddam and the leaders that were placed there. How they went to extreme lengths. And then the hypocrisy of such policies, that they will sugarcoat this and they will say it's collateral damage. You know, they came in the way. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. They did not come in the way. You are deliberately targeting civilian life, innocent people, full well knowing that innocent people will be murdered and killed at your hands. And when it's going to go to the UN to be voted, it will be vetoed by America and the British government. Vetoed. They don't have this much in their hearts that never mind a ceasefire on the war, a humanitarian ceasefire, at least allow aid to enter in for the people of Gaza who are suffering. Electricity is being cut off. Gas supply is being cut off from the people. The Western media will paint one image to tell you, if you read what is in the papers, or you watch the Sky News, or you watch BBC News, or you watch CNN News, or you watch Fox News, Western media outlets will tell you one thing, that the narrative is as such. But then when you go online and you see what is written on social media, and then you find the reality of the narrative, the truth behind it, of what is actually happening in Gaza at this moment in time, how they are targeting journalists so that the truth does not come out from there, how they are bombing innocent people, killing children. And we must continue to share this truth. We must continue to share this narrative. We must continue to upload this onto our WhatsApp stories, onto our Telegram channels, onto our social media feeds, onto TikTok, onto Twitter, onto X, onto Snapchat and Facebook, Instagram. As much as they will want to censor this, as much as they will try and attempt to stop this, they will shadow ban you, they will do everything. But the truth, for how long will they hide the truth? What do they think, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not seeing everything that they do, that Allah is unaware of this? وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Do not assume or even think for a moment that Allah Almighty is unaware. Allah Almighty is unaware of what the oppressors are doing to the people, the injustice that is being spread on this earth. This is why we must speak. And I will continue until this war ends. Every Friday I will continue to talk about Gaza. I will not stop in this. You might say it is repetitive. You might say it's the same talk, it's the same mentioning. But we must continue to speak and tell our public. We must continue to equip them with education, with facts and knowledge about this relentless murdering and killing that is taking place in the Holy Land. We must continue to raise our voices for them, that the greatest form of resilience, the greatest form of jihad, afdalu jihad. What is it? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Kalimatul haqqi inda sultan jair. That you speak the truth. You continue to speak the truth. We will not be silenced. People will attempt to silence us, but we must continue. We must continue to speak the truth. We must continue to support them by raising awareness, by going to demonstration, peaceful demonstration, by protesting, by calling on the government to enforce a ceasefire, stopping of this murder that is taking place in the land of Gaza. We must continue to support them, whether it's through finances, our businesses. It's good to see local businesses supporting the people of Gaza, that with every meal they get, for example, Fat Boys, you have other businesses like Mr. T's. These are local businesses, our brothers we've grown up with, contributing towards this, playing their role, raising their awareness, whether it's putting the Palestinian flag onto their businesses outside or inside, whether it's saying, shouting the slogan, Free Palestine, which now it is being pushed to say that this is anti-Semitic, failing to understand that the Palestinian people are also Semites as well. What you don't understand is not just the Jewish people are Semite, but those people who live in that region, that have their roots going back to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, they are considered the people, Semite people. Attacking them is anti-Semitism as much as it is attacking the Jewish people. And by Allah, we do not sit here and be anti-Semitic in any way, shape or form. We are not against Judaism. We are not against the Jewish people. There are many Jewish people who oppose this Zionist entity. Zionism is completely different. It is politics. It is this agenda to take over and control the world. This agenda to reclaim the Temple of Solomon, to build the third temple. It is this agenda that they want to give a state to the Jewish people, fully well knowing that for thousands of years, within the Talmud, within the Torah, it has been explicitly said that the Jewish people do not have a state or a home. They were expelled from the Holy Land because of their transgressions. And today, they will, not just today, this began over 100 years ago, this motive and agenda, when they were being bombarded and attacked, that where must we give them a state? And we want the state of Palestine. We want the Palestinian state. Because the agenda is Masjid al-Aqsa. The agenda is Jerusalem, Bayt al-Maqdis Sharif. In this entire world, there is no more holier place than the Middle East. This is the land of barakah, of blessings. This is the land where Allah's mercy descends upon the people. This is the land of the awliya, the ahlullah, the abdal, the uqtab, the qutubs. This is that land, the land of Sham, Bilad Sham, the area of Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Palestine. This area, this region is the land of the Anbiya wa Rusul, the prophets of Allah Almighty. Many of them lived in this area and region. And Islam, yes, it is rising in the West. But Islam began where? In this region. Islam started in the Hijaz Peninsula, and we must continue to support, we must continue to defend, we must continue to raise our voices. And what else can we do? وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When my servants ask you about me, Tell them I am very close. Ujibu da'wat ad-da'i idha da'an. That I will answer the du'as of all those who make du'as. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallama, they told us, ad-du'a'u yaruddu al-qada'. In another narration they said, ad-du'a'u yaruddu al-bala'. The power of dua, it can repel trials and tribulation. The power of making dua, it can change destiny. The power of dua, what is it? Silahul mu'min. It is the weapon of the believer. A dua made in the absence of a fellow Muslim, when he is not present, the angels say Ameen to that dua. We sit here and make dua for the least you can do then. If you can't send money, you can't support them financially, you can't put it onto your social media because you fear you'll get sacked or you'll get cancelled, well, the least you can do then is make dua for them. Raise your hands and make dua for them and say, oh Allah, help them. Oh Allah, protect them. Oh Allah, support them. Oh Allah, strengthen them. Oh Allah, grant them victory, grant them freedom. For it is freedom they desire. This is what the people of Palestine want most. They want their land, they want freedom within their own land, that they're able to travel freely without any restrictions, that they can live in peace, not fearing that I go to sleep, whether I will wake up in the morning, a bomb will not go on me. And we know and we understand this, and we must make dua at all times. The power of dua you must never underestimate the power of dua. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah said in Al-Quran, Ud'uni astajib lakum. Make dua to me, I will answer your du'as. Your du'as will be answered. But there's conditions. You must face the qibla. You must be in wudu. Your heart must be present when you make the dua. Qalb, which is not ghafil, which is hadir. Fi hadratillah, in the presence of Allah Almighty. Making dua to Allah Almighty and asking Allah Almighty. And this is what we must do. We must collectively make dua. Individually make dua. Collectively raise our voices. Individually raise our voices. This is what we can do. We live in a part of the world where we have freedom of speech, where we have freedoms, where we can travel freely, we can eat freely, we can speak freely. We don't have the fear of bombs falling on our heads. So the test is for whom really? Then in reality, who is Allah testing? Where's the real test? Who is really being tested? I believe it is us that Allah is testing. They are
Allah, Allah, La ilaha illallah, Jud alayhi.